and welcome to the Convex Conversation with me, broadcaster Helen Fospero. Yorkshireman Dave Clark became a sporting legend for hosting coverage of the Darts World Championships every Christmas for around 20 years. The Sky Sports presenter for more than 2 decades, covering world heavyweight title fights and other major sporting events, Dave's credited with changing the traditional image of darts and bringing it to a huge international audience. Despite a devastating diagnosis of Parkinson's in 2011, when he was just 44 with 2 young children, Dave continued to work in live television against the odds in terms of doctors' predictions for another decade. He now hosts a brilliant podcast, 2 Parkies in a Pod, with his friend Kuhan, featuring honest discussions about living with Parkinson's and other chronic illnesses. And I'm delighted to say he's in the Convex Conversation studio this week. Dave, it's so lovely to finally meet you. Thank you very much for coming in.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm a little bit surprised that our paths haven't really crossed before, because I was at Sky News right at the very beginning when we launched back in 1989. You were there at the beginning of Sky Sports News in 1998, I think it was, working with my old mate Andy Cairns. It was such an exciting time, wasn't it?
It was really exciting. I remember going in the studio and it was half built when I got there, and we had no audience to start with, so it was great. I'd never been on television before. I'd done 10 years at Capital Radio. I was new to television. I'm glad I could make my mistakes when there's no one watching. I look at the old tapes now, it was really in your face and a mid-Atlantic accent and stuff. It took me a while to find myself, but eventually I got there and it became an amazing thing. 24-hour sports news, who'd have thought it in this country, you know?
You're right, there wasn't much in the way of health and safety, was there? I remember porta cabins in the car park and wires dangling from the ceiling in those early days. Very different place now.
Yeah, people think the glitz and glamour of television. You don't see hairy-arsed cameramen behind the scenes held together with balsa wood. But yeah, it was incredible days, and I was really proud to be part of Sky Sports News, the launch team. And a lot of those people from the original team have gone to great things. Kelly Cates now presents Match of the Day. Mike Wedderman's still there after all these years. So yeah, it's great times.
I know, fantastic times. What memories do you really have? Because I look back and I think they were pioneering times, Dave. Satellite television was new, wasn't it?
Yeah, you felt like you were really the cutting edge of things, because a lot of people hadn't got satellite television until it went digital, and all of a sudden the audience started to grow and grow and grow, and you started getting recognised in the street and things. That never happened to me before, because I had a radio background for 10 years. And then I ended up doing the darts after a while, which started at a strip club in the A13 called the Circus Tavern. And you stick to the carpets, and it was incredible times, and 900 people there. And this guy called Phil Taylor came along, who just kept winning and winning and winning. And as he kept winning, the audience got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it turned into this massive thing. So darts became a huge part of my life. It's basically 2 blokes throwing 3 lumps of metal at treble 20, but it captured the imagination. And it was incredible because it's such a great television sport, because there's excitement all the time. So one throws a dart, misses double 16, then hits 16, goes double 8, misses that, and then the other guy comes in on 170, takes it out, and it's just bells and whistles and fantastic. It's like a combination of the Munich Beer Festival and the best fancy dress party you've ever been to, so fantastic.
I didn't realise it started in such a humble fashion in a strip club there.
Yeah.
But then you went on, of course, you hosted the World Championships. It was every Christmas, wasn't it, for donkey's years?
Yeah, my wife hated it because it was away every Christmas. My son, his birthday's on the 19th of December. I'd be away on his birthday every year. Ali Pali. And Ali Pali is this shrine to darts. Now, everyone wants a ticket for Ali Pali. Sells out in minutes. They sup over 1 million pints of beer. They have a great time, great entertainment, and it's just fantastic. And it's as much part of Christmas as turkey and baubles, the darts at Ali Pali.
Do you still watch it?
I still watch it, yeah. I occasionally go up there. I'm going to go up, I think, this year. I've been invited to go back, so it'd be quite emotional going back, because I have great memories of the darts and did a lot of good for me, and it was great times, and I'm very proud of what we did with the darts.
Do you have any favourite moments that particularly stand out from the darts time in your life, Dave?
I think Taylor's World Championships were incredible. A guy called Raymond van Barlebel came along and he said, the time I come over, I want to get a 9-darter, I want to beat Phil Taylor, and I want to be world champion. And he did it all in 9 months. And Taylor's dominance had been there for years. No one thought he was going to get beaten, and Barney came along and beat him. And it was amazing because it just set the world on fire. And the Premier League became a part of it after that, where we travelled around Britain and Europe in front of 15,000 people doing darts. We went to Berlin, went to Holland, had a great time. Fantastic.
What do you think it did for darts as a sport? Because when you think of darts, you think of that smoky back room in the back of a pub and a couple of blokes with a couple of pints. This put it on an international stage, didn't it?
It became the second biggest sport on Sky. It was amazing. I did the World Championship final in 2013. I'd been diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2011. And I remember walking on stage to interview Phil Taylor. I had to do the interviews as well as present the show, which was quite full on. And I remember feeling this internal shake. I hadn't told him I'd got Parkinson's. And I thought, this is a nightmare. I'm interviewing the world champion. We had 4 million people watching at home and 3,000 in the audience. And I could feel this internal shake. And I thought, people are going to say he's got Parkinson's. I'm going to have to come clean about it. And I got home and I was in a real mess. And my wife said, you've got to tell people about this. And there was another incident where I was doing a world title fight. And I was trying to do my cufflinks up and my tie up. And I was really struggling. And they're going, Clarky, where are you? Where are you? Nearly time to go on air. And I'm there in a cupboard trying to do my cufflinks up and my tie, and I was a mess. And I eventually got into the presenter's seat and I nailed the top of the show, was very pleased. But I got home and my wife, these two things, my wife said, you've got to go public about it. So I wrote an article about my diagnosis in the Daily Mail. And I remember thinking, am I right doing this? Am I wrong doing this? And it was a couple of pages in the Daily Mail, which is a huge paper. And on the website, the story goes up, the more people hit it. It got to number 2 in the ratings. And I got over 6,000 messages of support. So it was the best thing I did. It was a huge weight off my shoulders. I'm really pleased I did it. So it's difficult because I thought I'd put an incendiary device under my career, but I carried on doing it for 10 years.
And you got incredible messages of support, which I would imagine really helped.
Yeah. Freddie Flintoff and Alan Shearer and people like that saying great things about me. And Sky were really good at the time because I carried on doing it. And I did darts and boxing together for 7 years with Parkinson's. Then I thought, no, I'm really tired. One thing that Parkinson's does is it really saps the energy out of you. So you really feel quite lethargic and really tired. So I'd be prepping on a Monday, Tuesday, in the studio on a Wednesday. Thursday I'd be doing the darts somewhere. Friday I'd be doing the boxing somewhere. Saturday I'd get home and Sunday I'd be knackered and no good for my family. So a few things made me stop in the end. I was overdoing my meds a bit, which isn't a good thing because you get a thing called dyskinesia if you overdo your Parkinson's meds, which is like Michael J. Fox, the shaky. So I was double taking my meds before I went on air and stuff, which is never a good thing. So that's when I decided enough was enough.
You talk about coming out and being public about the diagnosis. You'd kept it secret, I think, for 2.5 years. Why did you feel you wanted to keep it secret, Dave? Were you worried perhaps of the impact it might have on your career? And did you just need that time to really get to grips with it yourself and as a family?
Well, I had to keep on working because my kids were 7 and 4 at the time. So I thought, if I go public, I'm going to lose my job. I didn't really get my head around it for a while because I'd grown up with Parkinson's in my family as well because my dad had it. My dad got it when I was 11 and ended up taking his own life when I was 18. So I was in denial. I didn't really want to admit that I got Parkinson's. Quite interested in the diagnosis because I noticed my hand was quite slow when I was grabbing a pencil and stuff. And I thought, what's going on here? A bit of a pain in my shoulder. And I looked in the shop window when I went past it and I noticed I wasn't swinging my arm. So I went to the physio. I thought I'd damaged myself playing five-a-side football. And the physio said, it's neurological, not physiological. You should go see a neurologist. So I paid to see a neurologist. The way I was told was terrible because I went to this place in Wimbledon and I said to the guy, well, he said to me, have you got any kids? I said, yeah, 7 and 4. He said, have you got a big mortgage? Why did he ask me that? I said, yes, big mortgage. He said, sorry to say you got Parkinson's. Why had to ask me about my mortgage and my kids? So I remember walking across the common with my wife and I thought, this is a nightmare, tears rolling down my cheeks. And I thought, I went to a pub, I had a pint, I needed a pint after that. And the 2 guys at the bar, 2 old guys, and I was looking at them. My wife knew what I was thinking. She said, don't worry, you'll grow old and you'll be able to have a pint with your mate. And so from then I thought, I can't live my life like my dad did. I've got to be different. So I was different and I just thought, I'm going to live a good life with Parkinson's and do everything I can to keep it at bay. Exercise, regular exercise, take my meds on time, plenty of hydration as well. So all these things. I think a positive mindset as well. I've had a really positive mindset over the years. And that's been important because I think as soon as you start getting down in the dumps and feeling sorry for yourself, that's when the demons come in. And the lack of dopamine in your brain can cause depression. It certainly causes anxiety. And it's a slippery slope. Once you start going down that road, there's often no way back.
I can't imagine the pain you went through as a family, losing your father, and you say he took his own life when you were about 18, you'd seen what Parkinson's had done to him. I can't imagine how devastating that diagnosis must have been, not only because it was Parkinson's, but because you'd seen what it had done to your dad.
Yeah, it was hard. I remember at school, I didn't want my dad to watch me play sport and things because I felt a bit embarrassed. I was embarrassed as a teenager with your parents around anyway, but my dad stooped and shaky and I didn't really want to see him. So he used to drop me off at playing rugby and football and he'd be desperate to watch me. I'd say, Dad, go home now, go home. And I feel really embarrassed about that now because my kids, I've watched them play sport all their lives and I wish in many ways I'd let my dad watch me play sport, but there's no way my kids are going to stop me watching them. So I've been shaking on the side of many a touchline up and down the country watching them play rugby and football.
But it's also different times, and I'm imagining that when the time was right, you talked to your children. Parkinson's wasn't really talked about in your growing up, was it? It was kept away from you.
No, my dad used to go to appointments by himself, which is really sad, and keep it away from us, and he used to do his ledgers. He was a salesman in Bradford. He used to sell paint around the Bradford area, and he used to keep it all to himself. He used to have to do his sales ledgers by hand, so he'd be driving around all day, and then he'd come home and he'd try and write his sales ledgers in like a big journal thing, and he could hardly write. It took him hours, and it'd be at midnight, he'd be still doing it, and then he'd get up in the morning, go to work. Just really sad, and he just kept it to himself, didn't talk to anybody, and ended up taking his own life.
Oh, that's so sad. Do you think in a way, because of what happened to your dad and because of how he coped with or handled or, well, didn't cope with in the end, but do you think that's where your positivity comes from, that you're almost doing the opposite of what you saw your dad doing all those years ago?
I think completely. I think when I was in that pub, I thought, I said I'm going to do everything different to my dad. If my kids try and shake me off, I'm going to be there every step of the way for them. So I didn't want them to grow up without a dad. So it was a big thing. I got my genome sequenced, see if it was something genetic, but I haven't got any of the Parkinson's genes, so it could be something environmental. They don't really know what causes Parkinson's.
I was going to ask you that, actually. So they don't really know what causes it, other than sometimes it's genetic, isn't it?
Yeah, between 15 and 30% of Parkinson's is genetic. There are various genes. There's one called LRK2, LRK2, which is very common in the Ashkenazi Jewish community. There's one called PINK1, which Samoa, there's a massive amount of people with PINK1. Parts of Italy have got various genes. There's about 13 genes that can cause Parkinson's. But it doesn't mean they're going to express because you've got them. There's potential. But I had my genome sequence there. There was nothing abnormal in my genome. So
yeah, was it quite interesting having that done?
Yeah, the Watson and Crick double helix. It's quite incredible what they can do now. So I think early diagnosis will be the key to the future of Parkinson's. If they can get it early and work out a way they can silence the gene, that might be the way they find a cure for Parkinson's. At the moment, there's no cure. In fact, the medicine I'm on was invented in 1967. It's the same medicine my dad was on, levodopa.
Is it really the same one?
Harold Wilson was Prime Minister, man hasn't landed on the moon, and they're still giving me the same medication my dad had.
That's extraordinary. Is that because there isn't the money into research that goes into cancer or something like that? Is Parkinson's underfunded research-wise?
Massively so. Parkinson's charities get 10 times the funding that neurological charities do. Motor Neurons has had a bit of an injection recently with Rob Burrow, and they've done a great job. Jill Douglas, I used to work with on Sky Sports News, was head of the Doddy Weir Foundation, and she's done great things, raised millions and millions of pounds. But Parkinson's, I think it's seen as an old man's disease. But I know people, there's one guy called Matt Eagles who was diagnosed when he was 7. People in the 30s. Kuhan, who co-present the podcast with, was 38 when he was diagnosed. A lot of young people getting it, and it's the fastest growing neurological condition in the world. 11.8 million people around the globe have got it now. 1 in 37 will get Parkinson's. It's a huge thing.
It is, and we've just lost a great friend. You perhaps remember John Stapleton, a legend of the broadcasting world. He's recently passed away and suffered Parkinson's, but he was a much bigger age. He's passed away at 79. You got it at 44, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shock.
Yeah, I bet it was. And that pressure as well on you with the big mortgage and the 2 young children. And I think, didn't the doctors at the time think that you might be able to work another 3 years, but you actually worked another decade in live television?
Yeah, he said 2 or 3 years. I thought, I'm going to do more than that. So I was determined to carry on working as long as I possibly could. I gave up the boxing after a while, and because I concentrated on the darts. Producer, a guy called Rory Hopkins, was great to me as well. He used to check I was all right, and I got up to fine art. I'd have a little sleep in the afternoon, then take my medication an hour before on air, and then be on air, and then it'd start to dip in the middle of a game, so I'd take another med. And it was great. It was quite a relaxed team, the darts team, and it's a great sport, and the players were really supportive. When I finished doing the darts, I got messages from everybody. They all sent me good messages for the future. It was like a big family. Very proud of what we did with the darts. It took it from a strip club on the A13 to the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Berlin. Amazing.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Did you have any favourite players at the time?
I think it's always dangerous if you become friends with players because you lose your impartiality, don't you?
That's true.
I thought Barney was Roman van Barneveld was great, and Phil Taylor was great. They used to pour the heart out of me. They come into the studio and tell me the wife was leaving them all this. Don't tell me that. So, yeah, just really relaxed guys and salt of the earth. And they're now getting the money they deserve. The darts circuit generates over £60 million a year now. £1 million prize money for the first prize at World Championship this year.
Wow.
Which is incredible from what it was to what it is now.
And in a way, Dave, do you think you kind of stumbled into it really and never realised at the time just what a connection you were going to have with it and how you were going to help grow that sport?
Well, it was quite interesting how it came about because Jeff Stelling was doing Soccer Saturday. He used to take time off to do the darts and someone else fill in Soccer Saturday. He made Soccer Saturday his own. He was great banter with all the guests and things. So I used to fill in when Jeff was doing Soccer Saturday. I'd fill in the days he couldn't make it, so Friday, Saturday, whatever. And I got a bit of an affinity with it. I love the darts. I went a couple of times before I actually started presenting it, and the producer saw me and thought, he's into the darts. And I think they wanted a working class lad from Yorkshire to be this face of darts. Jeff Stelling was from Hartlepool. I was from Yorkshire. And I made it my own in the end. I'm really proud of what we did with the darts.
You did make it your own. And also you did a lot in the boxing world as well, didn't you? A lot of big fights
I did 7 years of boxing and anchored some big ones. Ricky Hatton's big fights against Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. Did a lot of David Haye fights as well. 2.5 years after I was diagnosed, I was thinking about coming out. I did a big David Haye fight in Germany. Incredible. I was anchoring a world heavyweight title fight with Parkinson's. It was very strange, but really great to do it and really proud of it.
I always think that presenting in something like sport, and for me news, because my father was a news journalist for 46 years, I don't really feel I've worked a day in my life because I'm passionate about what I do. And was that a bit like your career as well, Dave? Were you really passionate about sport growing up? And if so, was it the dream job to be paid to be up to speed on sport?
Doesn't get any better than that, does it really? No, you're right. I am a Spurs zone. I did a postgrad in broadcast journalism at London College of Princeton back in the day and got a job at Capital Radio when I finished. Jonathan Pearce was the boss then. He had this Brazilian-style commentary that he used to do and everyone used to love it. You could go mad when Arsenal or Tottenham scored a goal or whatever. And we had a great time at Capital, but he was a hard taskmaster. If you got things wrong, you get shouted at back then. I did 10 years of that. I ended up presenting my own show. I did Capital Gold Sports Time, which was 6 till 7, and then I'd do 7 till midnight DJing. It was crazy days. You'd never do that now, would you? But Richard Park, the programme director there, a Scotsman who didn't suffer fools gladly, he came up to me and said, "You've got something. I don't know what you've got, but you've got something." He said, "Do you want to do a show?" So I said, "Yeah, I'll do a show." So I ended up spinning Elvis tracks and stuff for a year and a bit. Loved it. Great experience. In front of a live mic, driving the desk yourself, you're doing all the controls yourself. Very good experience.
There's nothing quite like it, is there? But were there signs of you going down this broadcast route and sports route as a child? Did you play a lot of sport? Were you from a sporting family?
Not really. I used to play football and rugby at school and things, and I always fancied working in sport in some description. I did a PE degree in Jordan Hill in Glasgow, and then I knew what I wanted to do, but I wanted that as like a safety net. So I came down, did postgrad in broadcast journalism in London, and I thought I can do this. It was great times, and the Capital Radio days, it was huge at the time, because I remember, as a good story, I bought a bed off Kenny Everett. I was doing the sport Kenny Everett show, and I just bought my first flat. I said, "Kenny, I've just got my first flat. I have my keys, brilliant. I'm really excited." He said, "Do you have any furniture in here?" I said, "No." He said, "Come back in an hour. I might be able to help you with something." So an hour later, went back, read the sport again. He said, "I've had this bed made. Base cost me £900. The mattress was £1,300. I said, "Kenny, I can't afford that."
It's a lot of money in those days, wasn't it?
He said, "You can have it for £100." So me and a guy you might used to work with maybe at 5 News, Simon Weiger.
Yes, Simon Weiger.
We got the engineering truck, nicked it and went round to Kenny's house, picked up the bed and put it in my little flat. So 7 foot by 6 foot bed.
What a lovely story. I wonder if Simon Weiger was still wearing red socks in those days.
I'm sure he was, and smoking a pipe.
Yeah. So what was it like then when you stepped from radio to the magic world of television? I stepped from newspapers to television. Were those early days quite unpredictable? I know the early days of Sky News, so much went wrong. We had wrong guests in the studio. All sorts of things happened because it was so new.
Yeah, we used to have this beta cart machine, they call it, where it was like a big stack of tapes. And they always used to go wrong stuff was playing at the time. And they're literally like a big video recorder. They'd load it up and then they'd slot in a slot. And the number of times wrong stuff went out there and you had to somehow get your way back from it. But great experience. When I did live sport, we had no auto cue, so you have to ad-lib everything, top of the show, everything. And that was great practice. The flying time you got on Sky Sports News was incredible, hour after hour. I used to do 12 till 6 every day, 5 days a week, and can't buy that experience.
You can tackle anything, I think, when you've done that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking back to what you were saying about those early days in the beta cart machine, which, as you say, looked like giant VHSs that went in a machine, and the times the wrong one ran and you'd suddenly be talking over footage that was the wrong footage. But I remember another story. We did a rehearsal it was in the days when the Queen Mother was still alive, and we did an obit rehearsal and we were practicing what would happen should she pass away. And one of the Australian editors, we had a lot of people in our team from Australia because obviously it was Murdoch's baby, Sky News. And he wasn't really paying attention. And he rang his mum in Australia and he said, just to let you know, Mum, the Queen Mum's passed away. And she hadn't. And it went, well, it wouldn't have been viral in those days because there wasn't social media, but it went everywhere and we had to put out apologies and he just hadn't paid attention. It was a practice.
Nightmare.
So there are lots of things like that going on. Just going back to the Parkinson's, Dave, how does it affect you, both mentally and physically?
Fatigue's a big thing with me, so I find I have to have a little sleep in the afternoon now, which I never used to do. I get probably a bit more anxious than I used to. Anxiety's not a big thing with me, but I do worry about things occasionally. Physically, my right side's not great, so when my meds run out, I've got like a 2-hour window, so I'm pretty good now. My body's working quite well, but in another hour or so, my right leg will start to not work properly and my right arm will stop working very well. I couldn't write my name, for example. Sometimes I can't even walk when my meds run out. So I have to time everything to perfection. And that can be quite difficult. If you want to go to the shops or whatever you want to do when you peak meds, because people think you're drunk when you're walking down the street if you've got Parkinson's.
Do they?
You tend to slur your words a bit and your face looks a bit masked. And it can be quite hard sometimes in the shops and trying to fill a shopping bag or whatever. I can't do it, so I have to ask for help, which is quite embarrassing. It is what it is, isn't it? I can't do anything about it. There's no cure for it. So you've got to crack on. I remember seeing in a physio, I went to physio a few years ago, and there's this sign on the wall that said, whatever the situation, get up, dress up, show up, never give up. I thought, that's a good way of living your life. Could have easily said no to this, but I've travelled across London and I don't want to do it, so. Well,
I'm glad you do. And you've also got a good team behind you, and included in that team is your wife. Aren't you a bit of a case study for your wife? Tell us about your wife.
My wife's a clinical psychologist, Carolyn, so I can't get away with anything. I'm a case study, so she's really great. And we've been together nearly 25 years now. And she doesn't let me get away with anything. So if I'm struggling to put my socks on in the morning, she'll let me struggle. She won't help me. I like that because I think as soon as you get people starting to help you, that's a slippery slope as well. When I really need her, when we're in a rush or something, she'll help get my shoes on or whatever. But I think if you start asking for help all the time, she'd probably carry on doing that. I don't want to do that. She's great. And if I'm a bit quiet or whatever, she'd come up and say, you're right. And she'd talk to me about stuff. But she won't let me get away with things. I still have to cook the family meals and stuff. And I can still do it. Occasionally she has to chop the onion and stuff because I can't do it. But
yeah. But it sounds good, Dave. I think this positive attitude and the way you just rise to things and keep going, and examples of that were the things you've done. I think you've raised more than £500,000, haven't you, for Parkinson's charities, but you've not exactly done lemonade stalls and sponsored walks. What kind of challenges, tell us, have you taken on with that?
I did do a sponsored walk, but I walked coast to coast, 192 miles.
Not just a quick trot around the countryside.
St. Bees on the Cumbrian coast to Robin Hood's Bay on the Yorkshire coast, where I used to go as a kid to Robin Hood's Bay. I go there quite often now. I used to see people throwing stones in the water and wondering what they were doing. And it turns out it's Wainwright's coast to coast, which I didn't really investigate it too much before I did it. I wish I had, because it was quite hard work, because I had to go right across the spine of the Lake District, twice the height of Everest. I was 7 years diagnosed with Parkinson's, so set off from St. Bees, 12 days later ended up in Robin Hood's Bay, having gone across the Yorkshire Dales and North Yorkshire Moors and the spine of the Lake District. And I raised over £200,000 with that. I did with a guy called Martin Turner, who's head of Formula One at Sky, and he was also diagnosed with Parkinson's. He was head of rugby as well. And just people joined us on. It was incredible. My A-level economics teacher in his 80s jumped out from behind a hedge to greet me, and makeup artist I worked with 10 years ago came out with a bag of sweets. She used to give me loads of sweets when I was doing my makeup. It was like feel-good march across the country. Over 100 people joined me in the end. And it was fun. It was like the Pied Piper. It was amazing. And I got to the other end and walked into the sea and walked over and got on a rock and just started crying because I used to play in the crab pools there with my dad when I was a kid. And it was just amazing. And the money just kept coming in and just fantastic. And then I thought, I need to do this again. So I walked the length of Hadrian's Wall, which was great as well. I'm not great at reading a map. I just kept Hadrian's Wall on my right-hand side, carried on walking. And then I did the Dalesway as well, which is another 80 miles. So I think I've rinsed every penny I can get out of people now. So I auctioned off stuff, and the darts became the official charity of Parkinson's UK, raised about £120,000 there. So had a golf day, raised 80 grand in that. So incredible.
And it's not just also raising money for research. It's also about raising awareness, isn't it? And showing that you can still live well and live a fulfilling life and not let it get on top of you.
One thing that really stood out to me was people saying nice things. I'd been doing the darts in Belfast and everyone knew I had Parkinson's. And this guy came up and said, "Thanks for saving my uncle." I said, "What do you mean I saved your uncle?" He said, he was ready to give up. He's diagnosed with Parkinson's 5 years. He saw what you were doing. He's changed his life. He's walking. He's got a lust for life again. And it's all down to you. I thought, wow, incredible.
That's amazing. When you hear something like that, that means such a lot, I would imagine. And exercise has been really important, I think, to you as well, hasn't it? To keep you positive and keep you going.
Yeah. They reckon with Parkinson's, 2.5 hours of high-intensity exercise a week is one of the few things that can slow it down. So I play tennis quite a lot, play with Kuhan, who do the podcast with. We have quite good games. Play 2 or 3 times a week of that. I do Pilates and a bit of yoga and do some weights in the garden as well and just walk the dog. I've got a dog called Ruby, a black lab, who in the morning, if I'm lying in bed, she'll come and nuzzle into me, bring a ball and want to go out. So walk a couple of miles with her every day. And
also there's no chance to really feel low if you've got a little lab that comes to wake you up. They're great to lift spirits, aren't they, dogs?
Great for breaking down barriers as well, because people with dogs talk to people with dogs. So I'll go out on the common, people come up to me, chat to me, and if I'm struggling, if I can't walk very well or whatever, I'm limping. Also, I've got Parkinson's, and people often have a story of their own about a relative with Parkinson's. So she's been great for that and just keeps me positive. And you've got to walk the dog every day. You've no choice, have you?
No. Do you think there will be a cure? What's the thinking with scientists at the minute and the medical world? What are the hopes and what's the prognosis? I'm not sure that's the right word, but you know what I mean. What's the thinking about when we might see a cure?
Well, ever since I was diagnosed, a cure's always been 5 years away. 5 years and then 5 years and 5 years. I think early diagnosis is the key, and then something that will stop it in its tracks rather than cure it. There's quite a lot of research going with stem cells at the moment. Roger Barker, a guy at Cambridge University, is doing some great work where they're implanting stem cells into people's brains. It seems to be getting a few results as well. There's a chemical that can grow brain cells, GDNF it's called, and injecting that into brains, a test thing that's going on now. So hopefully that'll reap rewards. And there's 1 or 2 other things which in the pipeline, but everything takes a lot of time to test, and everything's 10 years and 10 years and 10 years to get through. So probably too late for me, but next generation of Parkies might be all right.
Oh, and your own son's studying neuroscience, isn't he? Do you think that's been spawned at all by you?
Yeah, he's at UCL doing neuroscience in his 2nd year now, and he said he wants to find a cure for his dad, which is very touching, isn't it?
Oh, that's really touching. Yeah. You've got 2 fabulous sounding young sons, which is great. And they must have been a massive support. They were 7 and 4 when you were diagnosed, and they coped with it really well and been a massive support to you, Dave.
Well, they don't let me get away with anything,
No, well, that's half the battle, isn't it?
Kick up the backside if I'm feeling sorry for myself. They'll go out and play tennis with me or whatever. But yeah, they're great lads, and I want to stick around for them as well, be as healthy as I can for as long as I can because of them. I want to see them grow up and hit the 30s and stuff.
I love the title of your podcast, 2 Parkies in a Pod. That's such a great title. You do it with your friend Kuhan. Tell me a bit about Kuhan. Does he have Parkinson's too?
Yeah, he was quite strange because he tracked me down through social media and went for a pint. It was like a first date. And he went back to his partner Helen and said, "I think we got on all right, We had a good chat in the pub. He was similar about Parkinson's as me. He hadn't really told anybody about his diagnosis. But the conversation was great, so we thought we could do a podcast. We could chat about this. And 2 blokes chatting. Doesn't sound great, but we've had some amazing guests. We had the brain surgeon operated on him. He's had deep brain stimulation recently. It turns out the brain surgeon lives around the corner from me. A guy called Harriet Akram. Amazing guy. He escaped the Iran-Iraq war, and he was practicing his engineering skills on circuit boards for bombs that he found and stuff. Amazing guy. And we had him on a while ago, and we've had researchers from UCL, and it's had over 250,000 listeners now, which is amazing.
That's incredible. And I've also heard you on, I was listening to you on When Life Gives You Parkinson's, hosted by a host with Parkinson's. It's important, isn't it, that people don't feel alone with this. And I think what your podcast and the podcasts you do and all the activities you do, it helps these 11.8 million people worldwide feel like they're not alone.
Well, it can be very, very isolating, Parkinson's. We had a message from a guy in rural Devon who lived on a farm who'd never met anyone with Parkinson's before. And he said, I feel like you're my mate. I hear you talk about it and what you've been doing, and it gives me hope. And if you just help one person, it's great, isn't it? But the podcast, it's amazing. We've listened in 127 countries to our podcast.
That's incredible.
It's amazing. We had this girl called Star came over from Samoa. I mentioned the Pink One gene, and she'd been invited to talk at this conference. But she'd never flown out of New Zealand before. And she was in London for 48 hours. And one of the first things she wanted to do was meet me and Kuhan, which is a bit weird, isn't it? But she'd heard us and wanted to come and meet us. So we met her in the pub. Amazing woman. And we chatted to her, and she did this speech in front of all these professors. People like that give you strength and make you want to carry on doing it.
And also, you're still in the broadcast world. And for somebody who I can imagine broadcasting and is in, like mine, is in your DNA, I would imagine the podcast probably really satisfies some of that itch, because there really is nothing like live telly. And when you've done that, the podcast world's magical too, isn't it?
Yeah, it gives you that fix. My voice isn't as strong as it was. I slur my words a bit now. But you can get away with that on a podcast. Live telly, I couldn't really do now, but the podcast gives me a sense of purpose. I get to meet some great people and just keeps me going. We reached episode 50 the other day, which only 10% of podcasts ever do reach 50 episodes. So, yeah, very proud of that. And all the things I've done in broadcasting, probably the podcast is one of the things I'm most proud of.
And are you still a Springsteen fanatic?
Massive Springsteen, yeah. I was in Milan a little while ago, see him in Milan for the 30th time.
30th time?
Yeah,
oh, my goodness.
I've travelled around the globe. When I call it my Parkiversary, 26th of January. The good thing is, that time of year, he's normally playing somewhere warm, so I've been travelling around the world seeing him. So I went to Perth, Australia for a week, saw him in Perth. I went to New York, a bit colder in January, one-man show on Broadway. I've been to Cape Town in February. That was amazing. Saw him there in front of 2,000 people. I don't think he knows that I stalk him around the world, but I met him briefly when I was in New York. He was coming into the theatre, and he got out of this big 4x4. And he came over to our little area and he said, "Where are you guys from?" The woman said, "I'm from Melbourne." I said, "I'm from London." He said, "Great." I said, "Thanks for all the work you do for the Light of Day Foundation." Now, it turns out that his road manager had Parkinson's. And he turns up and does gigs for the Light of Day Foundation, which The Light of Day is a song that Michael J. Fox did with Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. And it was in a film, and it was a Bruce Springsteen track. And they named the charity after this. And he said to me, "Yeah, it's a great organisation, proud to work for them. Enjoy the show," and walked off. I thought, I've just spoke to Bruce, amazing, yeah. Brutal.
Oh my goodness. Well, that seems a very nice place to end our chat, on a Bruce Springsteen high. They don't make them like Springsteen anymore, do they?
No, he was 76 the other day, and he's still rocking around, doing 3 hours. I don't know how he doesn't manage to go to the toilet during 3 hours of live show, but he does it somehow.
Have you got any dates in your diary to see him next year? Is he anywhere exciting next year?
There's talk he might be playing in Australia, but I saw him on the starter tour in Tampa, Florida. Saw him on the last show of the tour in Milan. So 30 times seems like a nice round number, but I want to see him more. So hopefully I'll keep on rocking for many years to come. Hopefully I will too.
Well, I was going to say, I hope you keep rocking for many years to come. It's been a real privilege to have you in the studio, Dave. I'm really chuffed that our paths finally crossed, and what a shining light you are for somebody with Parkinson's. I think what you do is absolutely incredible. Keep on doing it. Keep on doing 2 Parkies in a pod, and keep looking after yourself and popping your own socks on. I think your wife's got it right.
Brilliant. If you've been diagnosed with Parkinson's, it's not the end. You can still live a full and active life with Parkinson's. So if you're listening to this and you've just been diagnosed, it's not the end. Keep on going.
Where should people go if they have been diagnosed? Where's the best help out there, Dave?
I think when you're ready, it takes a while to get your head around it. So just when you're ready, Parkinson's UK website, parkinsons.org.uk, has great information. And you can listen to podcasts as well. 2 Parkies in a Pod. The first one we did was a thing called The Beginner's Guide to Parkinson's, about the meds and how you should cope with diagnosis. So those two things.
Lots of help out there. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Dave. It's been great. I really enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed our chat too.
Yeah, very much so, thanks.
Good. You've been listening to Parkinson's activist and former Sky Sports News presenter Dave Clark on living positively with the neurological condition, which affects an estimated 11.8 million people around the world. And it's been lovely going down memory lane and hearing about his time presenting on Sky. Download and subscribe to our series at convex.podbean.com or search The Convex Conversation on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to yours. And if you like our episodes and enjoy our guest stories, then do leave a review. I'll be back next week with another great guest. Join me then.